Hello, good morning, dear students. I am very happy to welcome you all to the final year of your computer science. I am going to teach about design and analysis of algorithm, and I will be teaching one more paper, software engineering, and others for you. This is a very vital paper, design and analysis of algorithm. See, whenever you write a program, before writing a program, we should write an algorithm for it. Even before writing an algorithm for it, we should draw a flow chart. So the sequence of activity is drawing a flow chart, then followed by an algorithm, followed by converting that algorithm into the program using the language you want. And that is the sequence of activity when you write an program. Okay, in this semester, we are going to have an in-depth study about an algorithm. It's a very, very important paper, very useful paper. And you can master this paper by spending some time on this paper, trying to understand what is this paper is, what are the concepts are there in this paper that will help you to perform well in this paper. Now we go into the deeper topics of this paper. Okay. Okay. What is the definition of an algorithm? So you have been writing algorithm program for a long, long time, but I wonder how many of you written an algorithm for whatever the program that you have written. The definition of an algorithm goes like this. An algorithm is a finite set of instructions, and that is, if followed, accomplishes a particular task. You pay some keen attention on the definition of this algorithm. Here you say an algorithm is a finite set of instructions. That means there is a fixed number of instructions that are there, and if they are followed, it accomplishes the task for which the algorithm is written. Okay. So the instructions should be finite. In addition to that, an algorithm should satisfy the following criteria, namely, it has some 5 characteristics, namely input, output, definiteness, finiteness, and effectiveness. Let us see what are these criteria. Input. There should be external supplied input for a algorithm, 0 or more quantities that should be supplied externally input. And when there is input, the algorithm should produce an output. At least one quantity should be produced. That is an output. So an algorithm should have an input and it should produce an output. And the third criteria is this definiteness. An algorithm is made up of various instructions, and each of the instructions should be clear and unambiguous. Unambiguous means from particular instruction, you should not go to more than one instruction. Okay, from that particular instruction, where are you going to, where are you jumping to another instruction, or that is whether the next instruction are going to some other instruction. So you should jump from one instruction to another one instruction only. There should not be any ambiguity in moving from one instruction to another instruction. That is called definiteness. Okay. Finiteness. this is what I have been telling. The program, the algorithm should terminate after executing a finite number of steps. Yes. Supposing a algorithm is made up of 20 lines, it doesn't mean that only the 20 times the statements are executed. There is a executed. See, even within that 20 statement, there might be a for loop or a while loop or a repeat until loop, and the loop is repeated some 10 times. So altogether 20 plus 10, 30 times the instructions are executed. Okay, like that. So whatever it be, the algorithm should come to a termination after executing a finite number of times the steps. Okay, that is more important. You should execute finite number of steps and you should come to a termination, finiteness. Then effectiveness, that is, each statement of that algorithm should be so simple that you can execute it, you can work it out with some simple calculations. Okay, maybe in a paper, we can calculate it. So the statements of an algorithm should not be so complicated so that for that statement itself you have to write another program like that. No, it's not be so. Every statement should be so easy to understand and easy to compute. That is the idea behind this effectiveness. So an algorithm has the criteria input, output, definiteness, finiteness, and effectiveness. Okay. Now, I said that to write a program, you should write an algorithm for it. Okay, so there is some correspondence between, there is a relationship between an algorithm and a program. Then how does an algorithm differ from a program? Yeah, program is written using a computer language with the rules and regulations of that particular computer language. For example, you might use a C language or C++ language to write a program for a problem. Okay, if at all you are using C++ language, means then what are the conditions imposed in that language that should be used when you write a program for that problem using C++. Okay, whereas an algorithm doesn't follow any programming language. None of the conditions imposed in a language, particular language, are used in an algorithm. Okay, it has its own kind of pseudo language, pseudo convention language. Okay, that we will discuss later. Then how does an algorithm differ? As I said now, an algorithm always terminate after a finite number of steps. Of course, almost every program also terminates, but that doesn't mean that every program should terminate. Okay, for example, you take this operating system. Okay, unless the system crashes down, this operating system will not terminate. Otherwise, unless the administrator shut down the system, the operating system will not terminate. Until the system is shut down, it keeps on waiting for another work to do, another work to do, another work to do. So it puts itself into a looping, so that it always waits for another work to do, another work to do, another work to be supplied. Okay, it will keep on going until the administrator terminates, shut down the system. That goes on. Okay. So algorithm always terminates, and though a program always terminates, it will wait infinitely. It will wait in a loop until the administrator deliberately terminate its execution. Okay. As I said, now an algorithm is represented using a pseudo language. This pseudo language is a combination of formal English statements like while, repeat, do, for, if, case, those basic English statements are used along with some constructs like do while, repeat until, for loop, and these constructs are also used there. Okay, so that is how an algorithm is represented. Well, coming to study of an algorithm, what are the issues in studying an algorithm? First of all, you should know how to devise an algorithm or design an algorithm. In the latter part of this subject, you will know that there are many problem-solving strategies are there. For example, divide and conquer is there, dynamic programming is there, greedy method is there, and the branch and bound method is there. Okay, they are all problem-solving strategies to solve a problem, and there is no single strategy to solve a problem. Okay, there may be more than one strategy to solve a problem. As a programmer, you should be able to identify which technique is more suitable for this particular problem. That you should know whether a divide and conquer method is better, or a dynamic programming method is better, or a greedy method is better. Okay, you should be able to identify the right kind of problem-solving strategy to solve that particular problem. So if you know the which strategy to be used, you can devise an algorithm using that particular strategy. Then how to express an algorithm? Okay, some structured programming techniques should be there. Try to avoid too many go-to statements, and there should be a single entry and a single exit within a construct in a program, single entry, single exit, like this. There are some structured programming strategies are to be used when you write an algorithm. Then how to analyze an algorithm? An algorithm can be analyzed based on the time it is using to come to a solution, then how much of space it is using to compute the answer. So time and space are used to analyze an algorithm. Then validating an algorithm. It means that proving that an algorithm gives correct output for any legal input, okay, irrespective of the language used. Whether you are using C language for the program, or C++ language for the problem, or Pascal language, whatever the language that you are using, you should ensure that the algorithm behind that program is giving the correct output for any legal input. Okay. If the input itself is not legal, then nothing can be done. But for any legal input, you should ensure that the algorithm gives the correct output. That is called validating an algorithm. Then testing an algorithm. That is also a part of studying an algorithm. So testing involves debugging and profiling. Testing means test the program on sample data and debug the program if any fault uh, or output comes out. So removing errors from the program and ensuring that it gives the correct answer is called debugging. So for that, you test it with some sample data. Okay. Then profiling. This is the process of executing a correct program on data sets and measuring the time and space it takes to compute the result. That is computing how much of time the program takes, how much of space the program takes. Is there any way to reduce the time it takes to compute the answer? Is there any way to reduce the space also? Then these things comes under the profiling of a algorithm. So debugging and profiling are part of the testing an algorithm, and hence testing the program. specification. So just now I told you something about pseudocode method of specifying an algorithm. Actually, there are three ways you can describe an algorithm. One is natural language and graphic representation and pseudocode method. Natural language is using languages like our regular English language. But when you try to use English language, you should ensure that uh, there is no ambiguity and every statement is quite definite. Okay, this statement is doing this only. It doesn't do anything other than that. That is called a definite. Okay, then a flowchart is a graphical representation of the logic behind that algorithm. So if you are writing an algorithm, you can express it in the form of a picture involving decision box, looping structures, and input boxes, output boxes, and compound statement boxes. And these things are used in the graphic representation. Then the last one is pseudocode method that we will discuss shortly. What are the various issues are there in using a pseudocode method to express an algorithm. This coming to pseudocode method of algorithm. If at all you want to give a comment in an algorithm, the comment line should start with two backstrokes. Okay, that means that line is understood to be a comment and it is not an executable statement. Okay, that is double backslashes. Then compound statements. If several statements are related with each other and they have to be executed one after other compulsorily, then these statements are put within a open floor and close floor. Sometimes we use begin and end also. Begin and end. Okay. Then declaring an identifier. An identifier doesn't follow any particular data type. Just a variable that just it is declared, and usually it is declared with a letter. Then compound data types like record can be used here. You know what is a record? A record is a collection of data items of different data types, and that can be accessed under a common name. Here you see that there's data item 1 which has a data type, and data item 2 which has a data type like this, data item n which has a data type, and we have an external pointer that is pointing to a node record, pointing to a row node record. Okay, then if external pointer is pointing a record structure, then the members of that record are accessed using this arrow mark, external pointer variable name arrow mark followed by the data item member data name. Then otherwise, if you are not using an external variable, then external pointer variable, then just a record variable is used. Means then how to access the members of the record? Simply saying record variable name dot member name, record variable name dot member name. Then how to do the assignment? We have assignment symbol called colon equal to. Okay, variable. Left hand side is the variable, and the right hand side is the expression. Expression can be a single value or a arithmetic expression. Okay, that's how it is. Values are assigned to a variable. And some of the operators used here are Boolean operators are true and false here. Okay, they take the value of true and false. Logical operators are and or not. Okay, there is no symbol, but rather you should use and or not. And the relational operators are less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, not equal to. Mind that there is no double equal to, but a single equal to. Okay, relational operators. Okay, and not equal to. How the looping statements are used in algorithm. There are three kinds of looping statements: while loop, for loop, and a repeat until loop that are used here. You know what is that while loop is? While some Boolean condition, then statements. So you know the working mechanism. As long as the Boolean condition is true, the statements are repeated. Once the Boolean condition is false, the statements are terminated. Looping is terminated. Then for loop. For variable value 1 to value 2, step value. Okay, from value 1, increment by step value up to the value 2. Till then, the statements are repeated, repeated, repeated. Repeat until. Uh, Many of you may not be aware of this repeat until because in C language we don't use repeat until in a straight form. How does this repeat until works? Repeat some statements until some condition. That is, repeat the conditions as long as the condition is false. Repeat the statements as long as the condition is false. Once the condition becomes true, terminate the condition. Okay, you should know something about this while loop and repeat until loop. We should be very careful when you use repeat until loop. There is no guarantee that the while loop is executed. That is, when the condition is false straight away in the very beginning itself, the statements are not executed. Whereas in the repeat until loop, the statements are executed, then the condition is checked. That means the statements in the repeat until body are executed at least once. At least once. They are repeatedly executed as long as the condition is false. Once the condition becomes true, the looping terminates. Then within algorithm, you can use if condition, then if else, if condition, then statement 1, else statement 2. If the condition is true, statement 1 is executed. If the condition is false, statement 2 is executed. Then there is a case statement. It is nothing but ladder if or multiple ifs. So when condition 1 is satisfied, statement 1 is executed. When condition 2 is statement 2 is executed like this. When condition n is satisfied, then statement n is executed. When none of these conditions are satisfied, then statement in the else part is executed. Okay. Then how to supply values to the algorithm using the read and write statement. Then there is only one procedure, that is the name of the algorithm name, then parameter list if there is any. That is the way to have a procedure in an algorithm. Okay. So these about 10 points are used in pseudo coding an algorithm. Okay. Now as an example, look at this. This is an algorithm by name max, and it has a formal parameter a and n. Here a is an array, and the size of that array is n. Okay. What does it find? It finds the maximum value of the given n values. So first of all, I put a variable called a result. You see that I don't use any declaration here. No data type is given here. Result is equal to first value of that array a of 1. Then another variable I is used. Okay, for I is equal to 2 to n, then if a of I, that is a of 2 is greater than a of 1, then result is equal to a of 1. Okay, like this a comparison is performed. At last the result in which the highest value is stored is given. Point to be noted here is all these statements are very simple. Variables are not given any declaration. Straight away they are used, and they are also not given any data type, and it is. So this algorithm is called max. The name of this algorithm is max. So this algorithm follows all the conditions imposed in the pseudocode that we have discussed now. Algorithms may be of two types based on the logic used there, recursive algorithm and non-recursive algorithms. Okay, you may be knowing about what is recursion. Okay, a function is a recursive function if it calls within itself. That in its body, that is called a recursive function. Similar kind of logic is here. Recursive algorithm is algorithm that calls with itself within the body of that algorithm. That is called recursive algorithm. There are two types of recursive algorithms: direct recursive algorithm and indirect recursive algorithms. Direct recursive algorithms means an algorithm calls itself in its own body. That is called direct recursive algorithm. Whereas what is this indirect recursive algorithm? There are two algorithms, A and B. A is calling the algorithm B in its body, and B is calling the algorithm A in its body. So A is calling B, B is calling A. That is called a recursive algorithm. So when you write a recursive algorithm, you should be very careful in forming the logic behind that one. Of course, recursion is a beautiful way to express the logic, and it simplifies some of the complicated logics. Okay, but you should be very careful when you write an recursive algorithm. So at each recursive call, the size of the problem should be reduced. Okay, it should not increase; it should be reduced. So there should be a logic mechanism within the body of the recursion that reduces the size of the problem, and there should be a logic mechanism that terminates the recursive calling. So there should be a condition that terminates the continuous recursive calling. Otherwise, the recursion will keep on going and the algorithm will not terminate. These are the issues in the recursive algorithm. Now, as an example, look at this towers of Hanoi problem. You must all of you should be familiar with towers of Hanoi. It's a very classical problem. The problem goes like this. There are three poles, pole X, pole Y, and pole Z. Okay. In pole X, some n circular disks are used. The circular disks are varying in their sizes, in their diameter. Your okay, and the circular disks are placed in the pole X such that the largest disk is in the bottom, and the next largest disk is in the above that, and the next last disk is above that. Like that, the smallest disk is above. Now your problem is to change these disks from the pole X to the pole Y such that at any time a bigger disk should not be above the smaller disk. That is the problem. So for this we can use the pole Z, and this problem can be attempted recursively and non-recursively. Here an attempt is made using the recursive approach. See, we are not going to discuss elaborately about this. Is how recursion is used here. What is the name of this algorithm? Towers of Hanoi. This is the body from open floor to open floor here. And within this, we have a towers of Hanoi calling. So the algorithm is calling itself in its body. And you see here the initial size is n. Now here the size is n minus 1. So in this recursive calling, the size of the problem is reduced by 1. Okay. And where is the termination condition here? If n greater than 1, then only this recursive calls will be affected. Otherwise, there won't be any recursion. So there is a condition that terminates recursive calling, and recursive calling involves a lesser size of the given original problem. performance of an program, and these things will take some time. I will reserve all these discussions for the next class. Thank you, boys. We will see in the next class.